Welcome back, everyone. I'm back outside again with part 2 of the Egyptian rifles that I own. These are rifles that took me quite a while to get into my collections, particularly the second one. Very rare firearm, very few in the United States, very few produced. If I remember correctly, I think around 8,000 is all that was ever made, and very few of them are in the United States. Of course, this is a Rasheed, the first one being the Hakim, and the Rasheed is a variation of the Hakim in that the caliber changed and it was shortened, and it's actually a carbine version. Let me put the bayonet, fold it down, very similar to the SKS in design. Sorry, bumping the camera around. In fact, this is almost identical version of the SKS bayonet, but they will not interchange due to the muzzle diameter differences. Other than that, they're fairly identical. But chambered in 7.62 by 39, this is of course the SKS AK cartridge, and oftentimes this might be mistaken for an SKS. Take a close gander up and down of this firearm. You can see that's much smaller magazine. Again, the magazine was not intended to be removed, just like the Hakim. And you can see also it has the addition of a bolt handle on it. Quite an improvement. Instead of using the dust cover, you use the bolt handle to actuate the firearm. Still has the same lock on the magazine, again meant to be and still the same difficulty in removing it. So it was meant to be stripper clip fed and locked into place so it wouldn't be lost. And we can see we have the stripper clips. You can actually use SKS stripper clips on it. Works just fine. Flip it over, zoom in, take a closer look. Again, the marking's a little bit faint on this one, the crown of Egypt there. However, the dating is the same, and we have the serial number electro-penciled in alphanumeric as well as Arabic. The date on this one is 1968. I had to do a quick translation using the site the same way. With this one, however, does not start at 1. It actually has a battle sight setting below the 1, but then it continues on up to the 1,000 meter point, which is what we'd call the little 1 with the period by it. It's actually the Arabic number 10. Some of the quirkiness of the Hakim was taken out with the addition of the bolt handle, as we can see. Locks open in the same manner. We still want our safety on for safety's sake, so we don't end up with a thumb pinched when we're loading it. When we drop the safety, the bolt does fly forwards. As you can see, it would get your thumb again, so care must be used when you load these. Now you notice that the bolt will not stay back on this with the safety as it did on the Hakim. Not without physically, I'm reaching in the magazine well and pushing up on the pin, just as the Hakim has, that holds the bolt open. But once you load this gun, the bolt flies forward. Now this is a non-reciprocating handle. It will not reciprocate when you fire the gun. The only thing that reciprocates is the bolt itself. This is much the same as the Hakim. There's your gas adjustment. It takes a particular type of tool readily available to adjust it. You have 4 settings. This one appears to be in the off position right now. So that's an advantage that these have over the SKS in a manner of speaking. It's less sensitive to ammo in the fact that you can adjust the gas for different various loads. The Hakim also has that, and you can correct a lot of problems by getting that correctly adjusted. So this is not, again, a budget firearm. This in fact is much higher on the collectability list because of its rarity, because of its uniqueness. The only firearm in this design there is. It was particularly designed for the Egyptians. They were searching for a carbine. They had switched from 8mm Mauser to the intermediate cartridges and aligned themselves with the nations that use the 7.62 by 54. You can see it's an exceptionally good firearm. Original finish, or probably a rack number there. It does have one little chip on the buttstock. That's the only real detriment to this gun. Other than that, and a few scratches. It's in marvelous condition. But as I was saying, not a budget gun. You're going to be lucky if you ever see one of these under today's market value. I would say $1,200 to $1,600 probably. This is actually one of the crown jewels of my collection. Being in this condition, and with the magazine out, we can see has the same locking system on the action screws that go through the trigger guard up into the receiver. The center one just floats with a little bushing inside of there. Very important to have those in place and correctly fitted to the gun so that they just snug down, just as on the Hakim. This one had the locks installed when I received it. However, they were in pretty bad condition. I'll probably make a future videos on those locks because they're very difficult to find, and I happen to own maybe the last 3 unused ones in existence in the United States, and I use those for patterns to make my own. So we might do a specialized video on how those are used and installed and the correct way to do that. Very easy process, and when it's done right, it holds the screws in place and keeps them from backing themselves out, as is common on these firearms. This is not a firearm you're going to see every day, and when you do see one, you might mistake it for an SKS. But it is much rarer, much more valuable, and much more unique. Very fine firearm, a lot of weight. Recoil is very, very tame on this firearm due to the weight and the intermediate cartridge. Typical iron sights. I don't know if we can get a very good sight picture, but it'll give you an idea what it looks like. So, one of my very favorite guns from 1968, I believe, if I'm interpreting it correctly. Well, there we are, and we're going to move on to some even more desirable firearms that you might be interested in collecting, that you might not get to see every day. And later on, hopefully we'll get out and do some shooting videos on some of these. I don't do a lot of shooting videos because I don't have a cameraman and I don't want you getting too bored. but it's enjoyable to see these firearms and just appreciate their historical value. And their significant contribution to the development of firearms in general. So we'll see you next time, and make sure you tune back in. We'll get some more beautiful firearms on the way, and you'll be surprised at what we have in store next. Well, thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.